Hello, people.
Wow, that was a fast startup. I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready.
I wasn't ready.
So when you said you're ready, when I said, are you ready?
Well, usually you're like a pawpaw. You're like, are you ready? And you gotta
Not
like...
a pawpaw. What are you doing with that? Don't
Then
mess with that.
you've got to like fumble around with the thing.
Listen.
Why'd you just take a sticker out of my hand?
Because you're going to go take it apart, and it's not going to work anymore.
What is it for?
I'm going to stick it on the fridge out in the garage, the beer fridge.
Oh, jeez.
I have a collection of stickers.
He just took a sticker out of my hand.
Here,
like,
you can hold it.
Like I'm a child.
Well, I know how you like to pick at things.
I do. You're right. I better put it down. Anyway. So, we're going to talk about a topic today that we discussed in the car on our way home from Indianapolis. It's Jeff's idea. Of course. So when I get ready to tell you the topic, you're going to understand why it's Jeff's idea.
I think it's important.
It is important. We're
And
going
I
to talk
think
about...
that it could be a multiple top podcast discussion. Things could get heated, people.
What?
Sorry, I was bending over and something moved.
We're going to talk about sex communication and or miscommunication. Am I right?
Yes.
Meaning, why don't you lead us into this?
Well, it could mean all kinds of things. But I think where we were headed with it is like a lot of communication. Well, first of all, let's establish that in a relationship, not a friendship, but in a romantic dating, marriage, whatever else you want to add into there, the romantic relationship, sex is a very important part of it. Can we agree?
We can agree on that, but if you're friends with benefits, sex is an important part of that as well. Or is that a whole nother podcast?
That's a whole nother podcast.
Okay, gotcha.
Because we're not trying to discuss. See, I can't, like, if I were a single guy and I had friends with benefits, that might be a podcast to, like, part of my lifestyle I could actually talk about. But unfortunately, I can't talk about friends with benefits.
Unfortunately, I picked up on that.
No, joking.
Yeah, no, but you're right. If you're in a committed relationship with someone, then yes.
Sex is important.
Well, absolutely it is.
And communicating with the other person about sex is important. And I think it's like a faux pas, or it's like something that people don't discuss. And it's easy at first, physically, I think probably for most people, to hook up and, satisfy that animalistic instinct where you're getting into it and having sex and having fun. But then you get into a relationship and that...
When you first start dating, it's easy. Everybody's on their A game.
Right.
She's giving more, he's giving more. You're going above and beyond. You're holding hands. You're putting your arms around each other. There's all the foreplay. There's all the lovey-dovey stuff.
You want more of all that stuff.
Right. And then when you get into a committed relationship, sometimes after a while, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 5. That stuff, maybe
it's 6 weeks.
Not because of lack of love, but because of life, sometimes falls off the way. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't mean, and for the sex side, it doesn't mean that you're not into the person, you don't want to bang them, or you don't want to do stuff with, but I mean, life gets in the way. The thing is the communication. I mean, I think being really honest about what you need, and we're focusing a lot on the sexual miscommunication or sexual communication, and there's a whole nother side to it, and that's communicating the things you want and need other than sex that'll actually trigger you to want to.
Right, but that's not what we're really talking about.
Right, today. I just was saying we're not discounting that. That is important.
Right. I think a lot of times each party thinks that the other party can read their mind. A woman will say,
exactly,
I want him to, come in and give me a hug, kiss me on the neck, and, give me a neck rub, all this stuff. We think that you should know to do that. Guys think something differently. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes the other party's thinking about that and it comes in and naturally does that. But sometimes maybe you're having a bad week or you're just not thinking and that doesn't happen and then expectations set in and that's where things go to the crapper.
You go to the crapper. And why don't we know that, right? That's what we're thinking, but you never communicate it. That's what I want people to think about now with their partner. Whether you're with them, or you're with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or you're with just some random trucker that you met.
Huh?
I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, what I want you to think about is, when was the last time you communicated what you wanted sexually, what you liked, that was about you, and you actually asked and wanted to know what about your partner sexually they were into. And I'm not even getting deep into fetish territory.
Right.
I'm just saying just the basics, the fun stuff. It could be positions, it could be foreplay, it could be what leads up to the foreplay. I don't know. But
Right.
guys do have expectations, and they're like, well, this worked for the 6 months we're dating. That's what she likes. They never ask. They never go beyond that because it's worked, and why doesn't it work anymore? Then it offends you because it doesn't work anymore.
Well, maybe it worked, but do you do it, though? You know what I'm saying? Like I just said, you lose sight of all that.
Well, I'm talking
Maybe
about
he
a
just
different
goes
thing.
from,
I'm talking about a different thing. I'm talking about how maybe if you meet a woman in her like prime, like if you were single, and maybe you wouldn't need as much of at the beginning of a relationship. Maybe you met a man that wasn't as romantic or anything like that, and you guys just had this physical chemistry and were banging a lot. But then you got with him and you were with him, committed relationship after 6-8 months. You still need those things.
Well, I mean, it's just like with fitness relationships. You have to do progressive overload if you want to grow. Just like with your muscles. I hate to always put fitness in it, but just like with your muscles, if you start lifting weights and you're curling at 10 pounds, and you think you're going to do that for years and years, and your muscles going to grow, you're not. You have to do progressive overload. You have to add weight. You have to add reps, or you have to add sets. But what I'm saying is
you have to add kinky stuff.
No. What I'm saying is you have to add more. Okay? So maybe the holding hands, then I kiss her on the neck, then we kiss on the lips, and then boom, we're in bed. Maybe that did work for the 6 months before you got into this committed relationship. Maybe that did. But now that part is good. It's still needed, still should be practiced, but you've got to add to it. You always have to do progressive overload in your relationships, in my opinion. That seems like work, but guess what? Anything worth it is work.
I think so.
So
I think, like we said on that one podcast, the Relationship Goals podcast, we talked about how it's easy to get into that comfort zone where we just want to be comfortable,
right.
And then we don't want to do anything extra.
Right.
And you're going to get there. It's going to happen regardless. It's going to happen multiple times in your relationship for both parties.
Right. You have to adjust. But
you have to bust out of it. You have to adjust, and you have to communicate. And that's what this is all about: is being honest with each other about what you need.
Right. You have to. Let me get this. There's something on your face.
Oh, that's sweet.
There's a white. It was like, I don't know what that was.
I don't either. Who knows with all the work I've been doing around here.
Anyway, yes, you have to communicate and be open with what you want. Just blatant open. And I think, did I say this in the car, or have I already said this on here? I think I said it in the car. I really think that you should sit down as couples and actually talk about it. Not just, like, try to figure it out. Like, don't sit over there and say, you should know what I need. You know me. No, sit down and tell them. Write it down. Send it in a text. Be like, hey, I was just thinking, I really love when you, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Or it's the guy the same way. I really love when you wear this. I really love when you do this. Because if you don't tell us, we may not know. And it's not bad that we don't know.
No, it's not bad that you don't know.
On both parties.
We've got too much going on to have to worry about reading each other's minds. But that's where things go south, is when you have expectations and you think she knows
right.
what I like. Well, maybe she needs to be reminded every once in a while.
And maybe she's not thinking about it. Maybe there's a lot going on, right?
Right, yeah. So...
And Jeff, what'd you say the other day in the car? You said you'd be surprised. I forget how...
Oh, well, we were talking about lists. We were talking about maybe we should make a list. Maybe we should do this. Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily just sexual. Actually, it wasn't even about... Because that's the thing is, we were talking about it, and you were saying, well, you guys made it this way for yourself, that we only think that all you need or want is sex.
Right, that's what it was. Because you said you'd be surprised at what would be on my list or something, and I said, why? And what did you say? Something about it not always being nasty, dirty. And I'm like, but that's the guy's fault. You guys make it, and I was telling him how, you see guys post things on Instagram, not all guys, but if there's something nasty and perverted and over the line, like posted on Instagram or said at a party or something, it's 90% of the time, and I'm not faulting guys at this at all. I laugh at this stuff. I'm not being a prude.
Right, you're right.
And I'm not faulting you. But 90% of the time, as a guy said it, it's fine. It's hilarious. It's funny. I laugh at almost all of it. And then
So it
on the
gives us a
other
stigma.
hand, I have a personality like that. I have a sense of humor like that, but me being a woman would probably never post anything like that. Now, I do know some women who do, and it's hysterical and it's funny, and they're comfortable doing that, so
Good for
more
them,
power
yeah.
to... Yeah, absolutely. And just like guys don't generally post on social media or talk about at a party, sentimental, intimate, gushy things.
Right.
Some do, and that's fine. More power to them. That doesn't mean you don't feel it. It just means that you don't portray it out loud. So when I say you put it on yourself, that we automatically think that it's something perverted and nasty, it's because, well, what I just said. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right.
And like where I was going with that is, yes, we do that. And when I said, I think you'd be surprised, it was because we said, hey, maybe we'll do a list and it'll just be about things we like or we need or we want or we, like you said, I like when you do this. I like when you show up and bring me coffee. I
Right.
like when you leave me a note. I like when you...
But that's not sexual, though.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, this is why I'm kind of clarifying, is when sexual stuff can be on there too. Kinky stuff, fun stuff that we want to do. But I'm just saying, if we made a list like that, you would be surprised at the things that might be on my list that might be more affectionate things or things that you think that guys don't need
Like
because
romantic things.
Right. That girls don't think guys need it. They don't do it because they think, oh, well, I blew him yesterday.
And I was saying because guys don't post romantic things like that. They don't. That's all I was getting at that point.
But we're coming to the point where you got to communicate. That's what this is about. Is you got to communicate. And I know this one's more about, but I think it does all tie in. It's about maybe people feeling off sexually.
Right.
And it's because the miscommunication on, well, there's people that are all about quantity and not quality, right? They're about, I got to get it in 3 to 4 to 5 times a week.
So to speak.
Right. We got to hook up, or I feel like we're not
He totally missed
gelling. No, I get it. Penetration.
Oh,
the whole.
you didn't laugh.
Yeah.
That's something normally.
That's because
you
I
would
was in the
laugh at.
middle of like a thought. This is a very serious podcast.
For
Ash.
once, I made a joke.
This is a very serious podcast.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'll leave. No, but you're right. You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like and then you could have, and those are stages of life too, because that's how I used to be. When you're younger, that's how it is. It's like, I don't feel like I'm wanted if she doesn't want to be with me at least 3 or 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 8 times a week, whatever it
8
might
times
be.
a week. How does that work?
No, I'm joking.
Like twice in one day?
Yeah, that's crazy. Anyway, it happens. But the thing is, it seems like later in life, like now that you're more in that stage of your libido for the last 8 years or so has been sky high. Mine is still there. But it's gotten to the point where you don't stress about it as much. You know what I mean? And maybe that's because the guy knows that you're into it.
Right.
Instead of it's like that thing where she's not into it. We gotta do it.
Well, that's because earlier in the stage of life that you're talking about, I had little kids too.
Yeah, you got kids all over
I
the
was
place.
still birthing children, and when you birth children, your hormones are all over the place, and sometimes shortly after or while you're pregnant, you really don't feel like doing that. You just birthed a baby. This big old thing just popped out of the place that you want to go to. And sometimes our heads and our minds aren't turned off that, you know what? You just had a baby there. We can't, you know what I mean? So that time you're talking about was, when shortly after I had Brooke, and then there was Nate. So there was hormones and there was head game.
I agree.
Head game involved.
Right.
And not the kind that you're thinking either.
No.
But now my kids are grown and, if the sock's on the door, y'all gonna have to leave. Or the
That's
cowboy
true,
hat.
yeah.
Or whatever it is. No, I'm just kidding.
There's no cowboy hat.
No, there's really not. If we had a cowboy hat in our house, there would be a problem.
That'd be weird. I'd be
like Jeff Brokeback Mountain or something. What's happening? Was our cowboy hat in here? But anyway, where was I going with that? But there was a reasoning behind that. So you were feeling like there was that time in the life where you were feeling, oh my gosh, it's not happening all these times. She must not want me. When in fact, that really wasn't what it was. It was like a hormonal thing. And I'm getting ready to come upon, well, I am in that middle of that time now. So my hormones are everywhere. So it's kind of like, oh, it's just craziness, weirdness. But also let's talk about the miscommunication or the let's see. It's not miscommunication. I would think excuse me, it's more like, it's not even apprehension. What am I trying to say? Okay, so, for instance, I'm going to paint a picture. You and I maybe are texting back and forth in a day, and the conversation gets a little like risque, right?
Right.
So in your mind, and I'm thinking that you're thinking, okay, we're going to hook up later tonight, right?
Right.
Okay, and maybe I have all intentions of that.
Sure.
Or you have all intentions of it, or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's mostly probably whatever. And then my day goes crazy. I get busy. Maybe I start having a headache, or I'm just like feeling like, and then I come home and you're like all over me. Well, I'm going to probably give you a vibe if I'm feeling inside that I'm not feeling it anymore, that I'm like not wanting to do it anymore. Right? So I'm not going to be receptive of your advances. And that's kind of a weird position to be in. That's kind of weird, right?
It's like weird for both parties.
It is, because in your mind, we've been texting, it's been heated, okay, and I've been involved in that, and maybe I've been reciprocating. But then I didn't communicate to you that my day went bad, now I have this, now I have that. So you're still in that mood. You're still feeling it, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm not. So if you ever come over to try to hug me, or you try to kiss me or something, I'm going to probably pull away, which is going to make you feel a certain type of way. Yes. So that's miscommunication. What I should do right in that moment is just stop and say, like, look, give you a hug, give you a kiss, and say, I know we've been doing this all day, and I love you and I want to be with you, but like this happened, I'm so tired now. You know what I mean? Like, can we just maybe postpone the party, so to speak?
And I think we've done a really good job of that in the last several years. And I mean, because we're very active, where we've said, we both looked at each other and said, because the vibes got there, and right. I think I've gotten pretty good unless I'm super worked up, but usually the last several years it's been, I'm more about the quality now.
Right.
And we usually go, hey, you'll say something like we can do this, but neither of us want to waste one. Like, let's not waste it. Let's not do it just to say we did it.
Yeah, because then you can tell. But we're better about that now. But in the past, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would have been pulled away. It would have turned into a fight. Or I would have kept going with it. And then I would have fallen asleep. And then I would woke up the next day thinking he was expecting it. I fell asleep, and now I feel bad. And there may be a time where you made me feel bad about it.
Oh, I'm sure there were.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
so now I can just look at you and be like, dude, I know we've done this, and this all day. And I know that I've sent you this, and this. But I am so tired. And it'll be better for you and for me if we just like hold off till tomorrow. We're like, cool, that's awesome. Yeah. Perfect.
It's communication. It's being just open and honest.
But it's taken time to learn how to actually do that and be brave enough to do it without thinking the other person's just going to throw a hissy fit. And if the other person throws a hissy fit at your honesty, screw them.
Screw them. And I think that's where we've come in our relationship, is like we've decided that that's how we can communicate. And as long as it's genuine and it's, like you said, it's a nice conversation. It's not like,
well, yeah,
get your nasty hands off me.
No.
You know what I mean? Then if I would still get pissy because of, and it's usually the party that gets upset about it. It isn't even about having anything to do with you. It has to do with, like, probably an insecurity I have, mm-hmm. or something going on in my head. The thing is, though, anytime that's happened in the past, what ends up happening? I end up apologizing because
right.
Why would I? Let's just enjoy the evening.
Right.
We're together. We're going to be together. We have a very good. We've always had a really good physical relationship.
Right.
So it's not something that's forced unless it's in that moment. And then why are you wanting to force somebody to do something that you know the next night you're going to have really good sex with?
Well, here's the thing too. In that moment where I come home and I'm maybe not feeling it anymore, and I'm honest with you, and like, so instead of pushing you away and making you like feel some way, if I'm just honest with you and tell you, like I just said, I've had this happen, then I maybe we should wait till tomorrow night or something. Then now, hopefully, if you still make those advances towards me, and I'm not talking about like aggressive, I'm talking about even giving me a hug or just a kiss. Now I can give into those, right? Now I can accept those and be loving, and you never know what could happen. Then it could get the juices flowing again.
Yeah,
so
but
if everybody would just calm down.
It's hard to calm down, especially at certain ages. But I think that's a miscommunication that sucks if you can't be mature. Because I think about it on my side, have I missed out on affection? Have I missed out on attention from you that's not sexual because you're worried about it going sexual?
Yes.
I don't like that. You know what I mean?
Well, yes.
I want you to be honest with me and say, so that, like you said, you can open it up. And then guess what? The night, if it goes sexual, it's not because I'm thinking about it.
Right.
It's because you take it there. Because I can say we can hold each other. You can feel free to hug me or touch me or rub on me, and I don't think it's sexual.
Right. It's if you're not open communication and you just leave it, then you miss out on all that. Instead, I've told him that I'm not feeling it. I told him that it's probably not going to happen. But now we can be affectionate with each other with no strings attached, so to speak. But then maybe the strings get tangled and we tangle up. You know what I'm saying?
It's happened.
It's happened where I've said,
happened.
I'm not feeling it. I'm tired. I've just got to get a shower and chill. And then you still bring me in. You still want to snuggle with me. You still want to hold me. You still kiss me on the neck. And then I'm like, well, freak. Here we go again.
Right.
Now I'm back.
Or vice versa.
She's
it's like,
back.
I thought I know there's been nights where I'm like I have no intention. I have no thought. And then all of a sudden you
right.
and I'm like, wait a minute. I thought that this was not happening.
Right.
I don't say it out loud because I don't want to mess it up.
Well, I know,
but it's happened too for me where I've been like, this is crazy. We're both tired. I'm wore out. Let's just wait.
Yeah.
Because this is not going to be. We're forcing this. You know.
Yeah.
I don't want to move. Do you want to move?
Right.
Because to do that requires one of the two of us moving. Right. One of us has to move, and if you don't want to move, and I don't want to move, this is going to be really weird.
And then we end up going to bed, laying with each other, and sometimes, things happen.
Yeah, they do.
And then sometimes not. Sometimes we go to sleep. But it's taken us a long time to get to this open communication and for the other person to be 100% understanding. Maybe they don't like it. Maybe it's not cool. And maybe, you got to go, get the spank bank out. I don't care.
Well, no, and I don't either.
I don't know.
It's been
You got to do what you
got
got to do.
Right. The thing is we talk about this in the context of us. And there's people probably saying, yeah, that's great. See, we know for us that you saying to me, hey, I know we were sexting today. I know it was hot. I know it's heavy. I know I got you worked up, but I'm just not feeling it tonight. For us, people are going to say that's easy because I know within the next couple of days, unless something crazy happens, that you're going to be on. You know what I mean? There's people that they have different libidos, and you might have a dude out there going, yeah, that's nice. My wife has now gone 3 weeks telling me she just doesn't feel it, and she doesn't feel it because she's out of shape.
That's different, though. I mean, that...
and that's just a level beyond us. I'm just trying to say that for people listening out there that might not have...
Well, everybody's situation is different.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's even more the reason to communicate.
Right.
Right? And say, hey, so that you can look at your partner and they say, look, we haven't had sex for 3 weeks. I need sex. I want you. I think you're beautiful.
Yeah.
I think you're sexy. And she may say, I feel like a fucking fat slob.
Right.
I don't want anything to do with sex. I don't want you to see me naked. I don't want... You know what I mean?
Oh,
and then,
I know.
Then they
it's been
get
a
to
thing.
work through that together instead of him thinking, is she seeing somebody? Because women see themselves differently. You think you don't look good sometimes, and I think you look freaking insane. So I think dudes that are married to a lady, they may be like, what's the problem? You look great. Why are you so...
Okay, yeah, but you can't be that way.
You can't be that way, but my point is to communicate.
Yeah.
So that he can say, well, I'm thinking this is going on, and I didn't know that was going on. So
Yes.
let me help you.
Right.
What can help? What can we do to help fix this?
Right. And sometimes in that situation, particularly because I've been in that situation, so I can speak of it, I felt bad about myself. I felt a certain type of way. I haven't wanted to look at myself, back in the day. And it does make you not want to be sexual. You don't want to see your own self without clothes on. Why would you want... And then you got to roll around and things jiggle. And then if you're in a certain position and you look down, all that's hanging there. And you're like, gross. Like, he can't find me attractive. So then you just shut down. And guess what? You said a key thing there. Let me help you. Yes, but what can we do to fix it? Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it takes that person having to decide they want to fix it. And a lot of times guys try too hard to fix everything. Because you guys are fixers.
That's how
men
we're
are
built.
Fixers. Right. And that's how you're built. I get it. It's how you're genetically built. But
Let's
sometimes
fix
women...
this and get this nut off.
Right. Please don't say that word ever again. I hate that word. I'm communicating
let's fix
with you
this
right
and
now.
blow this load.
Fine, blow the load, but we're not busting on that. Okay, that's disgusting.
I didn't think I'd ever hear you say that.
Okay, but no, the woman just needs to tell you how she feels and don't try to fix it. Men try to fix it, and then it kind of makes you feel even more like, You know? Just
Yeah.
listen, guys. Listen. Just listen to
so
them.
hard.
Just listen to them and try to take notes. And then when it's not in the moment, because there's nothing worse than feeling bad about yourself and like telling your significant other that, like, you know, oh, I feel like I weigh so much, or I feel so big, or I feel so unattractive, or whatever. And then right then and there, they're like, oh no, you look good. You look this. You look that. We don't want to hear that right now.
But
Later,
if we don't say that right then, it could be pretty bad.
it can. That's where women are confusing.
So this is work, people.
How about you say, I'm sorry you feel that way about yourself. I don't see that, but I'm sorry that you feel that way about yourself. And then take notes. And then later, give a random compliment. That goes further.
Be
we're getting
very
off track.
careful, men, how you word things, and women, because I'm sorry you feel that way about yourself. You can say it the wrong way.
I know, but then if you follow
You
up
can say
by,
like, "That's too bad."
no, if you you didn't listen. If you follow up, I said, I don't see that. Like you've said before, like you've learned from me. I'm sorry that you feel that way about yourself. I don't see what you're seeing, but I'm here if you want to talk, like something like that. Maybe some women are like, nuh-uh, I want them to tell me right then and there how pretty I am. Well, I feel like that's superficial, and I don't want a compliment that I ask for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
not that I'm saying if I'm saying I don't feel pretty or I feel big, it's not really necessarily that I'm asking for a compliment. I'm not really baiting a compliment necessarily, but it's just when somebody compliments me after saying that directly to them, I feel like it's kind of void to me. That's just me. And I know there are a lot of people who feel that way. And there may be some that's not. But anyway, that's off track. Sorry. Just saying. There are women who feel unhappy with themselves, and so that is going to play into a part of them
And
not
men,
wanting to
too,
have sex.
I'm
And men
sure.
too. Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, definitely. And men too. But I think men can get over it more once they get going. Like, then it shuts off, and then they're
Yes.
like a sexy beast no matter what they look like.
This is true.
Women aren't really necessarily like that. You might have a few,
Mm-hmm.
but most of the time it sticks with you, and you're like analyzing yourself, and God forbid if there's mirrors in the room.
No wonder a certain percentage of women can't ever ejaculate or come.
Because we're inside
In
of our
your
heads
head.
about everything.
Yeah, you
like,
gotta let loose.
is my belly fat hit? Like, is this what? Yeah, trust me. You know what I mean? Trust me. But anyway, that's that. Just be open. Be honest. Have meetings with your significant other once a week, or once every couple of weeks, and say, "Hey, I've been thinking. I really like this, this, and this, and I really actually don't like when you eat this, this, or this before we hook up because that makes you not smell that good."
That's a good point.
I mean, I don't like when you eat garlic before we, could you just chew some gum or something when you come to, I'm not really talking like about me specifically. I'm just putting things out there.
I wrote it down.
No, I used to tell you I hated when you drank red wine. I told you that.
Yes, you
My
did.
gosh, it smells so bad.
Yes.
But,
Now you drink it with me.
so I feel like it neutralizes it. I've drank it with you one night.
One night, we're starting another tonight.
I know, I can't wait. But sometimes it's hard to be honest, right? Sometimes it's hard to be
After a
honest.
long day, it's really hard to be honest. After a great day, it's hard to be honest. It's hard for men to be honest about stuff like that because when it comes to talking about it, it's just easier at the moment to just say, just forget it. Let's just live.
Like, especially if you've had a long day, like you said.
Right, let's just let it go. But it doesn't go away.
It doesn't. It's going to come back, and it's going to come back worse.
It doesn't go away, and we have to talk about it. And I think that's pretty cool idea about maybe getting a list together. And it could be about all your relationship stuff.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be about sex.
But I think that also if you do make a list and you do like have a meeting about it or talk about it, I think that you 100% should do it somewhere not at your house.
Like in a public place, like a Starbucks, so that you can't hurt each other.
Well, they said that it doesn't get out. So you're forced to not really let it get out of hand too much. Now, I have stormed out of a Starbucks before on Jeff. I'm not going to lie.
What was a good one?
But we didn't get, you're less likely to gonna get heat. You're gonna be more calm about it, I think, if you meet somewhere that, you can talk privately, but yet there's people around, just to kind of keep it on the.
I think you need to be accountable to each other, though, too, for your. We're getting ready to have a talk. We're going to end on positives. There's going to be some negatives, but they're not negative because we're trying to make us the best we can be.
Right.
So yeah, and I'm the worst at it. I'm terrible at it. I hate it. When I hear something that's negative, I almost instantly my mind figures out about 400 ways
To justify it.
To justify
It's
it.
fight or flight. That's
Because
natural.
I don't want to fail you in any way. But it's not failure once we come around. So you gotta kind of posture yourself to not be defensive and to be open and vulnerable.
Right.
Which is difficult for everybody, I think. I think you get defensive too.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we say things and you're like, we both get kind of pissy a little bit sometimes, but we've decided when we're going to have these tough talks that we have them. It's in a form where we know they're going to be difficult.
Right.
But we always feel good afterwards. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, I mean it's true, but I would definitely advise you not to do it in your own home, especially.
Are you clipping your toenails during this sex
No, I'm
podcast?
not.
Okay, I just didn't know. I thought I heard a clipping sound.
I'm using. You did. I have the clippers, but I'm not clipping my toenails. I'm pushing some. Would you mind your own? Gosh, I'm not clipping the toenails. Now you got me off track. Oh, and definitely don't have this conversation when you're having beverages, like alcoholic beverages.
I think that's extremely wise. We've made that mistake before because you're so it's not a good idea.
No. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Only talk the good things when you're having beverages.
Right, like your fantasies and stuff like that. That can get fun.
That gets fun, and
because it's the truth serum, right?
Yes, and you should go down those roads with your partner because, I mean, you've got a long life and you've got to be excited. You got to get pumped, and people think it's wrong to need anything else, and that's what we used to say when we were younger. It's like, you need that. If I was like, hey, you want to watch some porn together?
Right.
Dial up. Huh? You'd be like, why do you need that? Why do you need that? And it's now it's not that way. It's not about needing things. It's about, and I'm not talking specifically about porn. I'm talking about anything that you guys can discuss. And you know what? That's a list that you should have. Maybe a fantasy or sexual list that you sit down and you go through it together. And maybe you'll say, I think this is hot. I think this is hot. I think this is sexy. This would be cool to do. This is kinky. Maybe you can't even do those things. Maybe your life will not allow you to do those things. Maybe your relationship, it wouldn't be smart for you to do some of those things.
Right.
But to talk about them and understand each other, what's hot, what's not, and what's sexy, I think is really only positive for the relationship.
Sure.
Physically.
Sure.
So you should be able to talk about that stuff. The thing is, you get the chance to say, and not out of jealousy, but say, I get you're into something like that, but that's not something I can do.
Right. Right.
But then both of you can accept it at that point. If you're not into fisting and he is.
Oh my gosh, who would be?
Then you might want to just mark that off the list, and then he doesn't have to go the next 10 years wondering maybe she would want to be fisted.
Dude, that's no. Let me just mark that off right now for you. Could we? Go ahead and mark that one off.
Dang it.
Sorry.
It's a joke. No fisting up in this house.
Disgusting. I'm going to put my fist in your face if you ever bring that up again. It's the only fisting that's
This is how you have those honest relationship talks. You say something, and then they say, I'm going to put your fist in your face if you say it again.
I wouldn't really, but you know what I mean.
I do.
All right, well, this has been a good talk. So communicate, people. Fun. Communicate about what you want.
Communicate about the hard things, so to speak.
Oh my gosh, here we go. And this, I'm just going to say, this podcast doesn't count against your sex. I can't go a podcast without talking about sex because I was actually the topic. Even though I will say that you came up with the topic. Just going to put that out there. So anyway, we still have, it's only January 13th. We still have half the month to go to see if Jeff can get through a podcast without saying something sexual. It's not going to happen.
I'm going to put my mind to it.
How many more days to my birthday? Like 16?
14, 16, I don't know. I'd have to add it up.
23.
Here we go.
16 days.
I don't know what the date is.
Today's the 13th. I just said that.
29th. Yeah, 16 days. So you're good.
So, yeah. 14, 15. Yeah, 16 days.
All right.
Is everybody ready?
Everybody's ready.
All right, cool.
All right, y'all.
All right, bye.